We're on? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Welcome everybody to the Safina Society Nothing But Facts live stream after a massively long and unexpected hiatus. But the way I live and the way I do things is that if something comes your way that's out of your control, you got to accept it. There's a wisdom behind it. There's a reason that Allah made it that way. And there were several things that happened that were necessary for me actually to be offline, although that wasn't planned. So it was not planned, but it really was something that was extremely important. And so you got to just roll with what Allah Ta'ala brings you, and you got to know that that's really the best thing that could possibly happen. And that's why I was, upset that the incident happened with the power and disallowed us from continuing our live stream for a while. But you have to accept what Allah brings you, because Allah has a better plan than you do. And recently there was some land a developer is developing some homes next to a masjid, right? And the people said that land had been sitting there for 30 years. Why didn't we, the masjid, the people of the masjid, buy that land? We could have developed it, right? And their Imam said something extremely wise. He said, you may have bought it 30 years ago, but you may have killed yourselves over it. Like it may have torn the community apart, right? So we're back. Are we on Instagram too? Yeah. We're on Instagram. We're on YouTube. And while we were off, my Twitter account was hacked, so we're not on Twitter. But we're working to get it back. But here's the amazing thing. Habib, I don't know if you were here when we were on Celebrate Mercy, and I said, man, Twitter is just a place of arguments. Right? And I said, I've made a commitment. I'm not going to argue with Muslim groups anymore, right? And Allah took the Twitter account away. So I could taste what it feels like not to argue. And it feels good. It's almost like I don't even want my Twitter account back. It's like I'm going to get it back. I'm going to go for it back. But to be honest with you, what is there to say, right? There's nothing to say. There's a million people talking about Islam. There's nothing to tweet. There's nothing you're not adding anything. So I'll probably get it back and I'll still do it and everything. But it's that excitement, that thing about, there's nothing there on Twitter that is worth much. And I definitely prefer not having feuds with Muslims, I got a lot of feuds with Muslims. Let's be honest. All right. If I have an opinion, I believe something is true, I just say it. Maybe was reckless in the past, and it's caused me to have, some people who don't like those things that I have to say. But guess what? I stick by every single thing. There's not a single thing that I regret. I regret the after effect that people were upset by this or that, right? That's not. I'm not happy about that. But I'm not happy about that stuff. But I can't say that any of these positions that I took did not have a rational or shari basis. Ladies and gentlemen, the Nothing But Facts Safina Society live stream and my work in general is meant for that person just starting out their path in Islam, or just needs a maintenance, okay? And giving people the ABCs, the entryway, the doorway, the reception to the world of learning about their religion and practicing it, okay? And answering questions that are out there that everyone's, asking these days, okay? And that's on people's minds. That's what Nothing But Facts is. That's in general. When I teach people, I like to teach the freshies, the newbies, the noobs, the rookies, the people who just coming out, okay? And just like waking up to discovering that, hey, I need to get back to Allah. I need to get back to the deen. That's the group that I find to be most pure. And here's the thing. It's a sad thing. The moment you come in, we have such a fractured ummah right now. the moment you get your feet wet and you take a position or two, immediately you find yourself in controversy. And I remember going through that, and it was very upset. I thought, like, Muslims are Muslims. We got one ummah, right? That's what I never thought, that there were groups, except for the crazy sects. Yeah, I knew that existed. I wasn't that naive. But within Ahl Sunnah, you come in with that hyper optimistic, idealistic view of the world, and your heart is so clean. And you just imagine, everyone's, like, if you, let's say, in the world of medicine, okay? In the world of medicine, and you come out there and you're picking a doctor, and you talk to other doctors about doctors, you imagine in your head, all these doctors want good for me, that's it. You don't realize they probably got their feuds, they got their rivalries, they got their schools of thought, right? And they got their bickering. So I want everyone to think about, this, so that this experience that I have transfers maybe positively to others, is that you always want to remember when your intention was just 100% pure. And you got to stick to that. And it's a memory of a feeling. It's a feeling, right? It's a memory of an internal state. And you got to navigate and keep that internal state. And because that internal state is the intention. That's your intention. And that's your the purity of your intent. And it's an idealism. And it's a good opinion about others. Drama-free, feud-free. Okay? And everyone probably remembers that state. So we got to stick to that. And that's where, at some point in Islamic dialogues and discourses, you got to step away from where there's argumentation. And that was my intention. And I have to say, I've made that intention maybe like, I've made that intention like 10 times and failed. So let's try it this time, right? Let's try it this time, and hopefully this time it'll work. And that commitment to, all right, we're going to have a position. People are going to say bad things. And whatever happens after that. Argumentation hardens the heart, says the hellish razor. All right? It hardens the heart. And I want to stay far. I'm not going to not have a position. If it's a position that's valuable for the listener, the common Muslim to know, right? If it's a political opinion that I have, does that have any value to anybody? No, it's just an opinion. I keep that to myself, right? And if it's something in your pay grade, as something that, it's valuable for every Muslim to know, then we're going to say it. If they don't like it, not everyone's going to like it, right? Okay. Let's now turn. It is Monday, and you know what Monday means. It is the day in which Sayyid al-Kawnayn, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was born. Someone asked, should I fast on Monday? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Wulidtu fihi." I was born on that day, on Monday. So Monday is a day that we begin with the shama'il of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We devote Mondays to any book related to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's number one. Segment number two, I'm going to give you some of the talks that I know are happening and some that are not happening. We know that there are certain talks, certain places in England I'm not going to. Certain places I am going to. Generally, no set schedule yet, but I'll share that with you. Segment number three, I got two books here that I find are really one of the best books, two of the best books I've seen published. Okay, one of them is by a man named Rayhan Zaidi. This is one of my favorite books that I've come upon, and I will probably read this book 5 times. Okay, and I cannot express to you how much this book, it's almost like he took ideas from my head, like questions and things that I knew, like every Muslim should know this, and he put it down on paper. Okay, probably in a much better way than I could have. I'm going to share with you these 2 books that I think people should read from. Segment numero 4 is going to be open QA, ladies and gentlemen. Maryam is asking, what are the name of the books? I'm going to tell you when we get to segment numero 3. Okay, so we got 4 segments today. And let's begin our first segment. And let's do a time check. Hey, what time is it? Right now? 1:12. So let's take a 15-minute segment, 20-minute segment. I can go for 2 hours on this. Okay. Segment number 1 is let's take a deep dive into the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the greatest barakah. And this book is by Sayyid Muhammad al-Alawi al-Maliki, or Muhammad ibn Alawi al-Maliki. Muhammad ibn Alawi ibn Abbas al-Maliki al-Makki al-Hasani. Okay. كان صلى الله عليه وسلم يعتني ببدنه. The chapter, the Prophet used to care about his body. This is a sunnah not many, honestly, I got to tell you, not many ulama do this sunnah. Maybe they don't have time. Maybe they sit too much. But many ulama do not, because virtues spread differently amongst people. Some people, Imam Malik was once asked, "Oh Malik, you have so many virtues, except you're not a zahid. You're not ascetic. You have nice horses, nice homes, nice pillows, nice couches in your homes, nice clothes. Why aren't you an ascetic like so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so?" Malik said, Allah distributes the rain where he wishes. Some people get more rain than others. So, but this is something the Prophet ﷺ had a concern for his body. Okay? كان صلى الله عليه وسلم يعتني بنظافة بدنه ويأمر بذلك. The first thing, and this I have to say all the ulama do, cleanliness of the body. When you see a person, especially those who care much for what we call al-ulum al-nabawiyya, they care a lot about the thought about the Prophet, thinking about the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You find them to be very physically refined, almost obsessed with cleanliness. But let me give you a little caveat. Our religion also has another side to it. The Sahaba were Bedouin. Even the city of Medina would count today for us as not a city. The Sahaba did not have the luxury of paper towels, of handkerchiefs, of water. When the Sahaba finished eating, what do you think they did? They'd rub the oil of the meat on their beard, and they'd rub their hand in the dust, and that would get the oil out, and then they rubbed the dust off on their thobe. The Sahaba were not this polished city folk, just so that we can have a balance in our religion. Okay? They had a balance. And there is, I believe, an excess. You can have excess in cleanliness. Especially like, I don't want to put this in my mouth that has a germ in it. You're weakening your immune system, in my opinion. Don't take medical advice from me, but that's my medical advice. As long as it's not a chemical, right? Chemical is probably bad, but it's something in nature, falls on the grass, gets some dust on it. Nature is probably good to have in your body. You strengthen yourself, strengthen your immune system. That's just a theory of mine. Don't take it, it's not worth a hill of beans, but that's my theory about it. Excessive, Umar ibn Khattab said, when he saw people going cleaning their hands before dinner. And he said, what is this? This is Persian behavior. Come and eat with the dust on your hand, right? So we have to know that cleanliness in our religion just has a balance, just like anything else. Because in the early days, they used to consider, Darul Hamidiyya says a great thing, OCD develops out of this. He's right. I've seen people, if a grape falls on your own floor, oh, don't eat it. What happened to the 3-second rule? What happened to the 5-second rule? I got the 5-day rule, okay? I'm not wasting food and becoming one of these OCD ultra clean types of people. I'll rinse it under the sink and eat it, okay? If the apple has a little bit of brown around the edge, like if you someone bit an apple and didn't eat it, put it in the fridge, oh, I have to cut that off. Why? This is excess. It's ghulu. Our religion gives us a lot of balance when it comes to these things. But the nails of the Prophet, the mustache of the Prophet, the visuals, the scent of the Prophet, there was no shortcuts on that. The physical scent, the nails, the mustache, the teeth, no cutting shortcuts. And when you make wudu, your face is going to be clean, right? If you make wudu every day, then you can't have stuff in your eyes, stuff in your face. So these very important visual that people see your first thing when they see you, everyone has that. كان يغتسل صلى الله عليه وسلم في كل أسبوع. he showered at least once a week. ويحافظ على غسل يديه قبل الطعام وبعده. He used to wash his hands before eating and after. Okay, we know that Sayyidina Uthman knew that was a sunnah, and Sayyidina Umar said no, it's not a sunnah. Okay, and here he mentions it. ويحرص على استعمال السواك في كل أحواله. The siwak. See, you know why people don't use the siwak? Because they treat the siwak like a toothbrush. You only have one, right? How many toothbrushes? When you go home on your sink, you don't have like 3 toothbrushes. You got 1 toothbrush. Because that thing never leaves the house. But the siwak is everywhere. I came to a realization, if you just have one siwak and you think, okay, this is my miswak, you're going to lose it. You're never going to use miswak. You got to have miswak here, miswak in the car, miswak on the nightstand. Just have them everywhere. It costs you 2 cents. But the miswak, I personally believe, has a better effect on the teeth and less of that filmy, weird toothpaste flavor. None of that. And it has a better impact on the teeth. I don't know what it is, the randomness of the bristles or something in the bristles of the miswak. Okay, it's much better. It brightens the teeth, and also it's keeps you company while you're driving. وكان صلى الله عليه وسلم يحافظ على تعهد أطراف بدنه بالنظافة وإزالة الأوساخ عنها من قص شاربه وأظفاره ونتف إبطه وحلق عانته. And the edges of the body were always crisp. His teeth were always crisp. His mustache never went over his mouth. His fingernails were always clipped. If you clip your fingernails every Friday morning, they're never going to be long. And there's a disgusting habit that started amongst the workers in Egypt. They keep the pinky long. You ever seen this? And I said, man, what is this disgusting habit? He said, no, sometimes I don't have my screwdriver, right? I'm like, oh, come on. And then another one, I asked him, what is this? And he said, yeah, clean your teeth out. Oh, do you know how many germs are in there, right? Bacteria's in here. A disgusting habit. If we see someone, if one of our guys ever gets that, we are pinning him down and clipping it for him. The long pinky. That, when you see a guy has that, he is an old school Egyptian. Okay? The pinky. The long pinky finger. Cut that off. Also, to pluck out the hairs of the armpit. Pluck it out so it's permanently gone. And between the legs, the private parts, shave it every Friday morning. That is with the ghusl of Jum'ah. Okay? وكان يأمر بالنظافة ويحث عليها ويحذر من الوساخة بقوله إن الله طيب يحب الطيب. When it comes to this discussion on cleanliness and the balance, the evidence will tip towards cleanliness. The bulk of the ummah after the Sahaba or city people. The Sahaba are Bedouin. They don't have water everywhere. They don't have the amenities we have. But immediately Islam went to Egypt. It's an ancient city, okay, in Egypt. Ancient cities, Fustat or whatever they called it back then, okay, Fustat. Now, by the way, this long fingernails thing applies to women too, okay? It applies in Islam. I'm saying you by the sunnah. This is not a sunnah for men only. It's a sunnah for women too, just in case some people think that it's only for men and that women, they do have long nails. It's a sunnah for both men and women, just to clarify that. Islam went to cities right away. City folk are different than Bedouin folk, than nomad folk. The rules of life change. The culture changes. So when we have that balance, it always bounces towards cleanliness. Allah is pure and He loves what is pure. And the hadith continues. Nadhifun yuhibbun nadhafa. Okay, this is from Tirmidhi. Clean and loves cleanliness. The cleanliness of Allah, obviously, clearly is different from, it is non-bodily cleanliness. We know that. وَكَرِيمٌ يُحِبُّ الْكَرَمِ. He's generous. He loves generosity. Where's the generosity? Where's the itr? Okay. Also, we should have a couple itr bottles everywhere you go. Do we have any itr here? That's the generosity. Some people are stingy. They don't want to use itr because it's, like it's gonna go away or it's gonna run out. Okay. No, you should use your itr. Okay. Jawad yuhibbul jud. He's a giver. and he loves those who give. Okay. وَبِقَوْلِهِ تَنَظَّفُوا بِكُلِّ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. Clean yourself with everything you can. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ بَنَى الْإِسْلَامَ عَلَى النَّظَافَةِ. Allah built Islam upon nadafa. Okay. وَلَنْ يَدْخُلَ الْجَنَّةَ إِلَّا كُلُّ نَظِيفٍ. And no one will enter Jannah except everyone clean. Now, if you just follow the sunan, okay, you will be extremely clean. You cannot, and cleanliness to me is not negated by some dust, that stuff is nothing. We used to have, one of my first teachers was a surgeon, and he used to say that, he said that when he talked about Islamic and teachings on cleanliness, he said people out there, they need this. The most elite people, they need this. He says, because we cut up people, and we got other very well-off people who come in and we have to cut them up and clean them and do surgery on them, and said they're filthy. Like, they're filthy. They do not have basic hygiene. They're unclean. And these were well-off people. وأكبر دليل على نظافة بدنه الشريف طيب عرقه الشريف. Even the sweat of the Prophet, as a miracle for prophets, had a good scent to it. Most people, believe it or not, sweat is actually, if you run indoors on a treadmill inside, you're going to sweat a lot, but that sweat never mixes with dust in the air. So almost you may have like no scent to you. Especially if there's no hair that it mixed with. It mixed with the dust of the hair. So sweat by its nature, the Prophet's sweat, according to these narrations, we accept it, had a good scent to it. وَرَائِحَتُهُ الَّتِي تَفُوقُ الْعَنْبَرَ وَالْمِسْكِ. His general scent, people have a general scent, okay, was better than amber and musk. وطيب رائحته عموما التي كانت تعبق في أي طريق يمر منه. His scent would stay in the path in which he walked. ومع ذلك فإنه لا شك في أن هذا من خصائصه. This is one of the unique features about the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم. بتنظيفه وترجيله وسدله. قال أنس رضي الله عنه كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يكثر دهن رأسه. He used to oil his hair so that it would flow and not be dry, and when your hair is dry and gets wiry. And تسريح لحيته. He used to comb his hair and his beard. They had combs back then. They were not completely bereft of any tools. They had tools. They had clippers or scissors, or they had combs. وَيُكْثِرُ الْقِنَاعِ. Okay. And that is a khirqa, a piece of cloth, تُوضَعُ عَلَى الرَّأْسِ حين استعمال الدهن لتقي العمامة منه. When you put oil, they used to take another cloth, put that on top of the hair, and then put the turban on top of that. And the cap, قُلُنْسُوَ. So they wear the turban, but in order to not get the cap and the turban oily, they put this other garment so the Prophet cared for these things. Okay. That was his care for his hair. What about his eyes? قال ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كانت له مكحلة يكتحل منها كل ليلة. Every night he would put 3 on one eye and 3 on the other. Okay. And the Messenger, Imam Malik, said that whenever he would put kuhl on his eyes, he would not leave the house. This is important sunnah. The Prophet put kuhl on his eyes. We know that. But Malik says it is not the sunnah to leave the house with that. Okay. Sunnah that you have it for the nighttime only, then wash it off. اعتناؤه بأسنانه. The Prophet's care for teeth. كان صلى الله عليه وسلم يعتني بتخليل أسنانه بعد تناول الطعام. ويقول, he used to care for putting something through between the teeth, like, what do we call it today? Floss. Every 3 years, go to the dentist to give me a lecture about floss. I don't need a dentist. I don't need commanding right and forbidding wrong about floss. Every single time they give me the same lecture. Okay? The world has time to floss. Give me the miswak in the car and call it a day. Okay? The Prophet used to say, حَبَّذَا الْمُتَخَلِّلُونَ مِنْ أُمَّتِي. How good is the fortune of those who go between their teeth in my ummah. I didn't know this hadith existed, so maybe I will start flossing. But I'm not getting you need 2 hands floss. I need the stick with the piece of cloth on it. That is acceptable. But not you to give me that string and I'm going to go back and forth with that. That's too complicated, right? Give me that plastic thing, yeah. And also I got my miswak. وَقَدْ قِيلَ لَهُ مِنَ الْمُتَخَلِّلُونَ وَمَا الْمُتَخَلِّلُونَ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. They said, who are the mutakhallilun? فَقَالَ الْمُتَخَلِّلُونَ فِي الْوُضُوءِ وَالْمُتَخَلِّلُونَ فِي الطَّعَامِ. Okay? Those who go in between in their wudu and go in between with the food. So that is, in wudu, they go between their fingers. It's sunnah to go between the toes and to go between the teeth. Okay? To get things out of your teeth. تخليل الوضوء المضمضة والاستنشاق وبين الأصابع. The madmada, the mouth, rinsing water out of your mouth. The nose in wudu, and between the fingers. Between the fingers, of course, being fard, the other 2 are sunnah. As for تخليل الطعام فلأنه ليس شيء أشد على الملكين من أن يريا بين أسنان صاحبهما طعاما وهو قائم يصلي. Wow. I never heard this. This is from Tabarani and Imam Ahmed. Listen to this. He said, there is nothing that upsets malaika more than seeing their person who they're assigned to, pray, and there's food sticking out of his teeth. So brushing your teeth, going between the teeth. Just because of this hadith, I'm going to get that flosser. The miswak is good, but maybe it doesn't get every single thing between the teeth. A dentist can give me all those lectures, but now that there's a hadith on it, you're going to go get those sticks. Okay. وَمِنْ عِنَايَتِهِ بِأَسْنَانِهِ وَطِيبِ رَائِحَتِهِ. This is the school of Muhammad ﷺ. We're in Prophet Muhammad University right now studying. It's direct from Sayyid al-Kawnayn. ومن عنايته بأسنانه وطيب رائحة فمه الشريف محافظته على استعمال السواك في كل أحواله. In order for his mouth to taste good and his teeth to look shiny, he was always using the miswak in all his states. Okay? We don't have one thing only for Malikiya. We don't do it in the masjid or in the prayer line or in front of people, hanging out with people. You're hanging out with 1 friend, that's 2 friends, that's nothing. But unlike other madhahib, which they say right before Takbirat al-Ihram, use the miswak, that's ahlan wa sahlan, that maybe is the Shafi'i method, but the Maliki method does not observe that. They observe that this is cleanliness. You don't do that in front of the people, nor in the saf, nor in the masjid. Okay? Al-miswak is with the wudu or out of the wudu or somewhere else. Okay? عند الصلاة, before salah, meaning وعند الوضوء, during the wudu, not right in front of the salah. Okay, according to the Maliki version of it. Understanding of it. Malik's understanding of it. Who's going to understand that better than this? Than him. وَعِنْدَ النَّوْمِ, before sleeping. وَبَعْدَ النَّوْمِ, after he wakes up from sleeping. وَعِنْدَ دُخُولِهِ وَخُرُوجِهِ, anytime he comes in, he comes out. Anytime there's like a shift, a period of time where you didn't talk or eat, use a miswak. بَلْ وَكَانَ يَأْمُرُ بِذَلِكَ, and he used to tell people. وَيَحُثُّ عَلَيْهِ, and encourage people to do this. And he says, السواك مطهرة للفم مرضاة للرب. The miswak, it's cleanliness for the mouth and pleasing to the Lord. Narrated by Nasa'i and others. ويقول لولا أن أشق على أمتي لأمرتهم بالسواك مع كل صلاة. رواه البخاري. If it was not just to make things matters difficult on my ummah, I would have commanded them to use the miswak with every salah. وفي رواية عند البزار والطبراني لفرضت عليهم السواك عند كل صلاة كما فرضت علينا al-wudu. I would have obligated it upon them for every salah, just as wudu was obligated. But the Prophet did not want to make things difficult for people. Because sometimes you don't have a miswak, you can't find one. And some people then use their finger instead to rub out anything that's on the front of their teeth. All right, Chocolate Wallace says there's a company called Waterpick, and it pressurized blasts water. Okay, it's much better than the plastic, but it looks like it needs technology and electricity and stuff like that. Okay, so not like that's not present, but it means like it's not something mobile or something you need to be in the bathroom to do. But anyway, we'll check that out. اعتناؤه بثيابه وهيئته. The Prophet's concern with his clothes and his appearance. بين لنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. The Prophet clarified to us أن حسن السمت والزي الحسن, a good appearance and good clothes, من شمائل الأنبياء, is one of the ways of prophets. All prophets regularly had a good appearance and good clothes. Okay, وخصالهم الأصيلة, and their excellent attributes. رواه الترمذي. Okay, the Prophet ﷺ says this about the Anbiya and narrated in Tirmidhi. وسيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم هو سيد الأنبياء. He is the chief of all prophets. ولذلك فهو أنظف خلق الله بدنا وثوبا وبيتا ومجلسا. He is the cleanest of human beings in his home, in his body, in his clothes, and in his gathering. وفي الحديث, and in the hadith, ما رأيت مثل هذا الرجل ولا أحسن منه وجها ولا أنقى ثوبا. A woman came and saw the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, narrated in Tabarani, and she said about the messenger, I've never seen anyone with a nicer face and cleaner clothes than him. Okay. وكان صلى الله عليه وسلم يتجمل. He used to beautify himself. ويحث على التجمل, and he used to encourage people to beautify themselves. إن الله جميل يحب الجمال. Allah is beautiful and he loves beauty. رواه ابن السني. وكان يراعي الأحوال والمناسبات. He used to be considerate of circumstances and occasions. Not everything is the same. فإذا جاء الوفود كان له حال آخر في مقابلتهم. When newcomers would come, chief of tribe so-and-so and a chief of tribe of so-and-so would come, he had a different state than when they weren't there. فيتجمل بثوبه أو بجبته أو بما هو حاضر لديه. Whatever he had of a thobe or a jubba, he would beautify himself by wearing that when those guests came. Okay. مما يناسب القادم وحاله. That would be appropriate to wear for the person who's coming. Okay. وإذا جاء العيد لبس حلة مقصوصة. And if Eid came, he used to wear a specific garment because it's Eid. Eid is not the time to wear the same clothes that you've always been wearing. So this idea of wearing new clothes, okay, on Eid or different clothes, it's masnoon. Secondly, what else? Jum'ah. Doesn't have to be new, but a garment just for Jum'ah. Okay? Just to make it specific. Distinguished. وَكَانَ يَأْمُرُ بِذَلِكَ. I used to say, do this. أحسنوا لباسكم وأصلحوا رحالكم حتى تكونوا كأنكم شامة في الناس. Okay. ويقول إن الله إذا أنعم على عبد نعمة يحب أن يرى أثر نعمته على عبده. All right. Narrated by Tabarani that if Allah gave you a blessing, Allah would love to see the sign of this blessing upon you. ويقول إن من كرامة المؤمن على الله نقاء ثوبه ورضاه باليسير. One of the karamat or act of generosity from Allah to a believer is that his garments are always clean and he's happy with what is little in life. That's a gift that you're able to always keep your clothes clean. Don't take this for granted. Some people are too poor to keep their clothes clean, or they don't have a consciousness. You don't go out with a stained garment. You don't go out with an unironed garment. And I have to tell some of the youth this, by the way. Like some of the kids, they come in, like say 11 years old, 12 years old. Like the jeans look like it came out of a dog's mouth. Looks like a dog chewed on it like a toy and spit it out, and then that person wore it like that. Completely wrinkled. Like that thing was not even folded. The jeans was at the bottom of a pile. So I know everything about you. You are one of those people who puts a pile, has a pyramid in his room. Like you could tell, because how does jeans get that crumpled, right? And denim is not even easy to get crumpled, but that garment was at the bottom of a pile. And you're one of the people that has a pile in their room. Okay? And that's not, that's contrary to the sunnah here. To go out with wrinkled up clothes is really no different than stained up clothes. It's just, you don't want to look at it. Okay? So this is something, again, of the city folk, of the people where these things matter to us. This is not the Bedouin land. This is not the farmland. Farmland, who cares? Everything is dirty. You are never clean on the farm. If you were to take out your best garment, okay, and just walk outside, it's going to get dusty. An animal will rub against you. So don't measure us against the farmers or on against the Bedouin. Anam is saying, I have heard not ironing clothes is the sunnah. Is that true? I don't know if that could be the sunnah, because they didn't really did they have irons back then? They maybe pressed their clothes in some way, shape, and form. Who knows? But by the spirit of what we are reading here, al-i'tina, having care, is a general term. Okay? Kana ya'tani. Inna Allah jameel yuhibbul jamal. It's general, right? Therefore, it's open-ended. So what is beautiful to us? Does anyone expect you to come in with, these excessively expensive garments? I don't think so. But can it be ironed, and can the stains be washed out? That's reasonable to say, right? So, inna Allah jamilun yuhibbul jamal, nadifun yuhibbul nadafa. Right? So that it's general. It's what us as a urf, we can say pretty confidently. Nobody would go to a job interview without ironed clothes. Nobody would go to propose to a woman. And I'm going to meet her mom and dad today. No, but it's sunnah not to iron my clothes. Is that ever going to happen? Right? وَكَانَ صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمْ يَنْهَى. Yunhi. Yunhi means to end. Yanha. He forbids. عَنْ تَعْرِيضِ الثِّيَابِ لِلْوَسَخِ. Don't expose your garments to be dirty. وَيَأْمُرُ بِرَفْعِهَا عَنَ الْأَرْضِ. And he to tell people, lift it from the ground. Okay? وَيَقُولُ إِرْفَعْ إِزَارَكَ فَإِنَّهُ أَنْقَى وَأَبْقَى. Lift up your izar, it's cleaner, and it will last longer. Okay? It's cleaner, it would last longer. Couple more sections before we wrap up segment number 1 and move on to segment number 2, which is latest updates on the England trip. Then segment number 3, 2 books I want to share with everyone. Then segment number 4, open QA with everyone. Open, no subject. Any subject. What about his house and his masjid? كان صلى الله عليه وسلم يعتني بنظافة بيته ويحب أن يكون نظيفا. He loved that his house be clean. Tell that to some kids. Kids are worse than like rioters. If you had a riot, if 10 people rioted in your house, right? Having kids in the house is worse than that. Because rioters will get exhausted and they'll leave. Rioters go home. Kids will keep coming. Every day they wake up in your house. You're here? You're still here? Right? And they will mess up your home. It's not their home. What do they care? Right? وَيَحُثُّ النَّاسَ عَلَى ذَلِكَ وَيَقُولُ نَظِّفُوا أَفْنِيَتِكُمْ. And he used to tell people, clean your homes. Okay? وَكَانَ يَعْتَنِي بِنَظَافَةِ الْمَسْجِدِ وَيَهْتَمُّ بِذَلِكَ. The mosque. He used to keep the masjid clean. And he used to care about this. وَيَفْرَحُ بِمَنْ يَقُومُ بِهَذِهِ الْمُهِمَّةِ. And he was happy with the people who did this. ولذلك فإنه لما ماتت المرأة التي كانت تقوم المسجد. When a woman died and she used to be the sweeper of the masjid. She used to sweep the masjid. ولم يخبروه إلا بعد دفنها تأثر. They didn't tell him that she died because she was not someone of import. And they buried her. Then he said, where is the woman who cleans up the masjid? They said, she died, we buried her. He was upset. هلا آذنتموني. Did you ask me before you did this? Okay. فذهب إلى قبرها وصلى عليها. He went to her grave and he made salah upon her because he cared about this person whose contribution was to clean the masjid. Okay. There needs to be a non-profit organization dedicated to putting paper towels in the mosques, bathrooms. It's almost like they're one area of competence. This is the reason I know Muslims didn't do 9/11. I know we're not supposed to talk about 9/11. Some people, especially their parents or converts, they don't like it. I'm telling you, I know 1,000% practicing Muslims did not do 9/11. We cannot even put paper towels in the bathroom. You cannot keep the bathrooms functioning. You think you're going to hijack planes? Just think about it. If you know your community, I've been to many countries, and I hung out with the pious Muslims in many countries. No one's got the bathroom issue down. It's almost like we're still Bedouins. Like we got this Bedouin mentality. Oh, what do we do? We don't know what to do. No one set a budget for this. No one set a schedule for this. No one said just Amazon direct order it every month. Right? It's almost like constant, nonstop. It's predictable. Right? Turkey's the only country that may have got this down. So I know our ummah. Right? There's no way we could do something that requires 15 steps like this. Expertise, precision, timing. It's not going to happen. Yeah, the air dryer.
Solve the whole paper towel, like.
You solved that problem. Let me tell you what else. Okay? I have an invention for the masajid. A ground level air dryer where you do your thing, you kick it before you leave, and it dries the whole floor of the masjid, of the bathroom. And you put one here, you put one there, you put one on the other side. So you kick it, all of them go off, right? And hot air comes into the floor for 30 seconds. Okay? Hot air. Now, if I kick it, you kick it, the next person kicks it, at least the entryway, the area where people would first walk in, the area where the flip-flops are at, okay, will be dry. Okay? Yeah. I'm telling you. That's what we need. That no one has thought of this, and it could be a strip, a hot air strip on 1, 2, 3 walls, and then the sink is at the 4th wall, or this wudu area, and then, Deen Adi, motion censored. Yeah, motion censored, okay? As soon as, like, there's that is sensed, boom, it turns on, even for 10 seconds, right? The place will be filled with warm air, it will be dried out, and everything will be perfect. Automatic drying. Summer says it already exists, but we don't have it. Okay? Why don't we have it? And we have other problems. I hate to say this, but the ummah has I'm telling you, potty training problem. It's as if we are all an ummah of Bedouins. We don't know how toilets work. We had all of Ramadan, maybe except for the last 2 weeks, or last week, 3 weeks of Ramadan. We did not have toilets. Why? Because some people, I don't know why, what they're doing, what's going on, paper towels, stuffing them in the toilets, and thinking it's an industrial strength toilet, flushing the toilet, and then guess what happened? All the paper towel went down, clogged up somewhere central, clogged up, everything backed up. We had to end up going and doing all sorts of digging and cutting and hiring people, and then these people come out, and it's just paper towels. That's it. It's like you don't know that paper towel will clog a toilet. You're an adult, and it's like I'm telling you, we people don't know how to use the toilet properly, right? Sunny700 says the same thing on Instagram. It's like the same experience. Why is it that we have? How could you live in America? You took a plane to get here, right? You know the basics of life. How do you not know how to use the toilet? So now we're nervous about putting paper towels back in the bathroom. It costs us 3 weeks of toilet in the most important time of the year, Ramadan, right? And we're not putting paper towels yet. And Samara says, I thought it was a UK issue. Sister, it's an ummah issue. The ummah. Why do not we know how to use this technology? It's like this technology came from England and we're so confused, right? The toilet came out of England, right? So terrible situation here with the bathrooms, but we really we have cleanliness issues, which when you know your ummah, you know your ummah, and you know that certain things you can't. If you can't get this right, what are you gonna get right? Right? What are you gonna get right? So, فقد جاء في الحديث. Okay. وكان هناك رجل مخصوص يتولى تبخير المسجد وهو نعيم المجمر وسمي بالمجمر نسبة إلى هذه الوظيفة. نعيم, the coal, the mujammir is the coal heater, someone who heats up coals, because you have to heat up coal. What was his job? Bukhur in the masjid. Bukhur. Puts the bukhur up, and it's a coal, and then you put the wood chips on top of it so that the house doesn't smell like food. The masjid after iftar, after dinners, does not smell like food. And his name was Nu'aym al-Mujammir. Okay? That piece of coal is called a jamra. The one who heats it, heating it up is called at-tajmir, al-Mujammir, the one who heats it up. وليس هذا خاصا بمسجده بل كان يحث على ذلك بوجه عام, and it was not something khas to the masjid of the Prophet in general. Prophet ﷺ used to have him do it after Dhuhr. Sayyidina Umar established it after Isha in Ramadan, so that when people come to the masjid, it smells nice. Okay. فقد جاء في الحديث أمرنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ببناء المساجد في الدور وأمرنا أن ننظفها. رواه الترمذي. The Prophet ﷺ commanded us that in every home to make a little mosque, a place of salah for yourself in your home, and to always keep it clean. Okay. وأمر أن تكون المطاهر يعني أماكن قضاء الحاجة, the places of the bathroom, على أبوابها حتى لا يوسخ. Okay. لا يوسخ الناس المساجد. ونهى الرجل أن يتنخم في المسجد وأخبر أن تنظيف المسجد حتى من قذات وهي أصغر شيء يمكن أن يتصور من الوسخ فيه أجر كبير. There's a big reward for someone who even cleans the smallest thing, al-qadha, from the mosque. Okay, and he said that the bathroom should be kept separate so that none of that spills into the mosque, that najasa. Okay, and do not even blow your nose in the masjid. Okay, in the sense of, if people used to blow their nose, and still today, like if people are working or something, they just blow their nose like that. It's pretty gross, but people used to do that. The voice. كان صوته صلى الله عليه وسلم حسنا وقد أخبرنا أنس عن ذلك فقال ما بعث الله نبيا إلا حسن الوجه وحسن الصوت. Anas said, no prophet has been sent except he had a good face and a nice voice. وكان نبيكم أحسنهم وجها وأحسنهم صوتا. The Prophet, your prophet, had the nicest face and the nicest voice. That is رواه الترمذي. وقال البراء بن عازب. البراء بن عازب قرأ رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في العشاء والتين والزيتون. The Prophet recited والتين والزيتون in Isha. فلم أسمع صوتا أحسن منه. Never heard a voice better than this. رواه الشيخان Bukhari and Muslim. وقال جبير بن مطعم كان صلى الله عليه وسلم حسن النغمة. Okay. When he recited it was beautiful. وكان في صوته صحل كما تقول معبد. والصحل بفتح الصاد والحاء كالبحة وبأن يكون حاد الصوت. وكان في صوته قوة بحيث يبلغ ما لا يبلغه صوت غيره. There was a depth to his voice, like it had texture to his voice, and his voice would reach far away. ووصفه البراء براء ibn Azib described him فقال خطبنا حتى أسمع العواتق في خدورهن. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave a speech one time, gave a khutbah, and people heard him from far away, so his voice would travel. It's a miracle for the Prophet. وقالت أم هاني هاني said كنا نسمع قراءة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في جوف الليل عند الكعبة وأنا على عريشي. She said that I would be sleeping, laying down, and I would hear the recitation of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم from while he's reciting at the Kaaba. Okay, so that ends this chapter of this excellent book, Muhammadun al-Insanul Kamil, by Muhammad ibn Alawi, ibn Abbas, al-Maliki, al-Makki, al-Hasani. Okay, and that ends the chapter on the image of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, and so that ends segment numero uno. Let us now look at segment numero dos. Short segment. There is no the final qawlun fasl on the England trip is not nothing's finalized except for 2 events, maybe 3 events. Okay. Planting roots of safety, Harrow, England. Let's click on that. Where is Harrow, England? And what date would that be? Okay. May 31st, 7:30 p.m., Harrow Central Mosque. Okay? Harrow Central Mosque. We'll talk to the Muslims of Harrow. That should be good. Can you look up where it is? What city is that in? City's Harrow. June 2nd, planting prophetic seeds. The Melting Pot Community Hall in Bolton. Could you make a map? You know, like add destinations?
Oh,
Yeah.
see how far they are?
Yeah. So put Harrow first, then put Bolton.
Arrow Central Mosque?
Harrow Central Mosque, then Bolton. And that's all I'm going to say for now because we wait until the rest are out. Okay. Okay. It's not live yet. I got to wait till the organizer says it's live or else they're going to get upset. Okay. So we got to wait until it's live, but I didn't even know where these 2 places are. Bolton, England. Bolton, UK. Yeah, click that. That is Bolton, England. Whoa, Bolton is far away from Harrow. Where is Harrow? Click on that. Harrow is right at the edge of London, northwest of London. Past Wembley. This is like zone 8. How many zones are there in England, in London now? 4? Harrow must be in zone 4.
Wait, where are you guys staying?
We're not staying anywhere.
Oh,
Wherever, it's a different place every day.
Oh, so you guys are like going to be traveling
Yeah.
through UK?
Yeah. 3 hours and 40 minutes from Bolton all the... Can you zoom out, take a screenshot and put that up? Yeah, like that. Perfect. Okay, so that's at least 2. And we're going to be... I'll be sending out... I'll keep going all the way down. Go take the whole England. Yeah. Okay. And I'll have... my wife will send it to the group. Okay. She'll send... I don't have like an assistant. And she's not my assistant. She's too educated to be my assistant. I'd like to hire her as my assistant. But she'll send it out to everybody when we get it, inshallah. Because she loves England. I wish she'd come out with me onto the trip. But okay. But she can't. So that's what we have so far in England. Bolton and Harrow. And the other guys, other things are almost like like 90% booked.
So you know how many guys are going through?
How many guys? A handful. Yeah, just a handful. Yeah. Just a handful. It's not going to be a massive group or anything. Maybe when we get there, some of the young guys will go. And by the way, I don't do that type of thing with... some of these guys some of the shiyukh, they're like rock stars. I'm not really comfortable with that stuff. They're like rock stars, and they're going and they're taking a million pictures with somebody, right? Take pictures, and I don't really do that stuff, to be honest with you. It makes me feel uncomfortable. I'm not a fan of that stuff. What's that?
People texting you like waiting for you, like where you're gonna pop up.
No clue. No clue, to be honest with you. Yeah, no clue. All right, so that's good enough for segment number 2. That's what we have, right? All right, so Ibrahim Khan, is this a lecture tour? Yes, it's a lecture tour. When is it? Last Tuesday in May is the departure. Probably arrive Wednesday. And then depart back first Tuesday of June. It's a humble little tour. Go to some masajid, meet some people. I would really like to talk to non-Muslims. How do you get a room full of non-Muslims? Do you ever watch these videos of like Yusuf Estes and these people, right? And he's giving like shahada to like different people and talking about Islam. Where is he getting this audience? How is he pulling in this audience of like 60 non-Muslims? Because what matters? What is the most important thing is the tabligh, is to give da'wah to someone who needs it. Okay? Isn't that the most important thing? To me, that's the most important thing. But we'll go there and we'll spend time with Muslims and, see what we can benefit and what we can benefit from them, what we can give benefit to them. Are we done with segment number 3? Is there anything else? Let's see if there's any comments or questions on segment numero dos. Hellish Razor says, go to speaker corner. For what? A dhikr night? Do Mawlid in speaker's corner? Okay. This tour is being sponsored by Karima Foundation and Al Medina, a group called Al Medina. And it's a humble little tour, right? Not some kind of a big deal. Just go out there, meet the Muslims of England, talk about, things just like we're talking about here on the stream, and see the ummah, and that's the whole point of it, right? All right, let's go to segment number 3. Look at this book right here. You see this book? I don't know the author. Like, I know his name, obviously. But I don't know who he is. Okay? This is an awesome book. I got this book in the mail. It's very colorful. So I thought maybe, is this it looks like a Harry Potter novel, doesn't it? When I opened it, it's an educated person's in examination of Islam. First, the existence of God, then prophethood, then hadith. Okay? So, if you know this person, I do not know this person, and I got it in the mail. Someone sent it to me in the mail. Okay? I think the author or the author's friends, like the author's crew, sent this to me as a courtesy. I love these courtesies. Okay. And the first thing when I'm looking at this, I say to myself, is this person connected to Shaykh Nuh Keller? Because there are some, Shaykh Nuh Keller's books always have one of these things. So when I looked at him, like, this person's connected to Shaykh Nuh somehow, or inspired by his books, let's say. The book is called The Divine for Critical Minds, An Inquiry into God's Existence by Rayhan Zaidi. Okay? He's a medical doctor, and he's also a philosopher, because most medical doctors, and they're in the field of trial and error or demonstrable knowledge, what we call al-ilm al-tajribi, they're far from al-ulum al-aqliya, the rational sciences. He comes here and he says that he talks on the importance of the idea of philosophy, not philosophy as in the mind is all we need to discern the truth. Not that kind of philosophy. But the philosophy, the idea of we need a methodology to know what is certain and what is not. Okay? And this idea of scientism, that if I can't touch it, feel it, see it in a demonstration, then it's not real, is a complete farce. And you are therefore cutting off two massive sources of certainty, which is transmission, transmitted knowledge. All right, prove to me scientifically that George Washington existed. Prove to me scientifically that King Henry VIII existed. Prove to me that the Armada in Spain was destroyed scientifically. You can't prove any of this. It's transmission. Al-Khabaru as-Sadiq, it's called. The transmission that you must accept. Transmitted in a degree, in a way that rejecting it is an absurdity. Okay? Historical transmission like that. Okay? Languages are all transmitted like that. Many documents, many events are mutawatir like that. Then there's aqli knowledge, rational knowledge. Cosmologies are arguments that if premise A is correct, for sure. If premise B is correct, for sure. The conclusion must be correct for sure. Let's say premise A is purely a rational principle that nobody can deny. Premise B is a demonstrable principle that nobody can deny. Therefore, the product of these two is a conclusion that cannot be denied. Okay. If all men are mortal, all human beings die, right? Does anyone disagree with that? No. Habib is a human being. One day Habib will die. You have to accept it as a fact. Okay? That is the basis of rational knowledge. So let's take a look at what he talks about. Why should we use logic? Society today undermining logic. Society today is undermining logic. Like, what is one way in which society today is undermining logic? The refusal or inability to establish set definitions. Okay? Set definitions for things. Like the refusal to establish a set definition. Okay? And Matt Walsh knows all about that because he's the one who really brought that out, that we no longer define things. Okay? In his controversial documentary. It was controversial to some, it wasn't controversial to me. I thought it was excellent. From what I saw, I didn't see the whole thing. All right. Common philosophical question. Did the laws of nature, the laws of physics, create the universe? Firstly, what is a law of physics? Is it not a description of the behavior between two material things? How could a law cannot create anything? A law is merely a description of the behavior of two different things. Okay? Could the universe exist without a cause? Are there infinite universes? Okay. Let's just read one for the sake of it. Let's go to page 28 and read from this. Even if we read a little bit every day, we'll learn so much. Can somebody contact Rehan Zaidi and tell him that I have a message for him, and that is Barakallahu Feek. All right. Did the laws of the universe create the universe? Did the laws of physics create the universe? Stephen Hawking says, what I have done is to show that it is possible for the way the universe began to be determined by the laws of science. In that case, it would not be necessary to appeal to God to decide how the universe began. This doesn't prove that there is no God, only that God is not necessary. All right. What does Rehan Zaidi say, the author? This is a great quote for a number of reasons. First, it shows how theists can end up with egg on their face. All right, when a gap they hastily stuffed with God is inevitably filled with its scientific explanation. So just because we don't know how something happened, do not say, "Oh, just God did it." That's it. Yeah, when Allah acts when Allah acts in the world, He acts through means. Okay. What is the greatest miracle? One of the greatest miracles is the virgin birth. And even that, Allah created a mean, which is Jibreel came and touched the stomach of the Virgin Mary, right? How about Moses split the Red Sea? Yes, but still, Allah commanded Sayyidina Musa to strike the sea. So he always creates with means in this world. So just because you don't know something, do not say, oh, it's just a miracle that Allah said kun fayakun. No, there will be a sabab one day we discover. We will discover the sabab. The sabab is the created means through which Allah creates something. Okay? What is the sabab by which I feel full? Eating. What's the sabab by which we're able to broadcast this? The wires and the cables and the satellites. Asbab. That's what the meaning of asbab. If you don't know what the meaning of asbab is, that's what it is. Asbab is the created means by which Allah Ta'ala, or after which Allah creates ends. And both are separate creations. Yet Allah has created one before the other regularly, so that we can manipulate them, use them, and predict them. Okay? Next. Sure, it was unknown how such an amazing universe came out of the Big Bang, the theory that the universe was smaller than a pinhead and extremely hot, and then started rapidly expanding, but opportunistically invoking a divine being without giving science a chance is bound to fail. He's totally right about this. Everything is created with asbab. Second, it reveals that new knowledge of the universe does not remove the need for a necessary entity. A mistake that physicists repeatedly make, and Shaykh Hamza Karamali has a brilliant video series on this, and he says every time science discovers something, all you did is you added a new sabab. You added a new link to the chain, right? So the first generation of human beings, how many causes and effects did they know? Not much. Fire heats, water cools, food satiates, sharp objects cause pain. Now we have so much knowledge, but that all we were doing is adding links to the causation, right? This caused this, this caused this, this caused this, this caused this, this caused this. It does not take away the need for an end at some point, a first source of creation. Late Professor Hawking, director of the Center of Theoretical Cosmology at Cambridge, may have managed to show that the initial laws work together to produce the amazing universe that we now have. Truly marvelous. But if laws can be shown to work together to produce the result we're looking for, does it explain how laws came about in the first place? This is philosophy. This is why a philosopher can critique a scientist without being a biologist or a scientist. Okay? On this point, Rupert Sheldrake poses a question for materialists. If the laws of nature existed before the Big Bang and governed the Big Bang from its very instant, where were they? Because laws are mere descriptions of material things' behavior. So if material things didn't exist, where were the laws? Right? Moreover, if some formula or final theory is developed that can account for every detail of our universe, including the laws, along with all their constants, the next question would be, where did it come from? And why did it exist in the first place? The answer would probably be some super formula. But then where did the super formula come from? Laws, like everything else, are contingent, meaning they are in one particular form instead of another. I think Rehan is a student of Hamza Karamali. Okay? Yeah, I'm guessing here. Because having interacted with this knowledge enough, you start seeing the thread of similarity, of a beautiful transmission. This is so important. Shaykh Hamza Karamali is one of the first people to speak like this. Not like in the world, but in our world, in our little world of English-speaking kalam, preachers and teachers. Okay. But he's putting it in a very easy way for people to understand. They could have contingent means it could be one way instead of another way. So gravity is what? A certain measure. Well, couldn't gravity be stronger? Could it be lighter? Why is it this amount that it is now? Okay. Can you imagine gravity being stronger or weaker? Of course you can. As such, laws, like all things contingent, require an explanation. Why are they the way they are? And in that sense, there certainly is a need for a necessary entity, or God, as Hawking prefers to choose them to be one way and not another. Nevertheless, to give Hawking the benefit of the doubt, he may not have meant to make an all-inclusive statement. If he meant that God is not necessary to explain how the universe unfolded after the Big Bang, because science explains those steps, then in this limited sense, we can give him that. Okay? Okay, after the creation, fine. But in that case, theists should learn why it is a mistake to attempt to plug scientific gaps with God in the first place. Okay, when there's a scientific gap, it could be filled. We can learn what the Asbab are. So that's not the proof of God's existence. The proof that we need, that this universe needs a creator, is when you keep tracing things back. Okay? Eventually there has to be an end. Consider also when it comes to solving a millennium-old conundrum of philosophy, why it may have to do with a bit more than crunching numbers. One reason is because we do not have a physics problem at hand. See, our discovery of a mechanism that may have formed the universe does not preclude a necessary entity. That would be like learning how a coil transmitted heat to a kettle. All right? A coil transmits heat to a kettle and boils the water. Okay? In other words, questions like why is there a kettle and why does the stove have the ability to be heated are unexplained by physics. Okay? These are moral questions. Right? Why is, when you walk into the kitchen and see the water's boiling and you shout out, hey, why is the water boiling? The answer is not because someone plugged it in, put water in it, and clicked on the button. No. The answer is a moral answer. Because I'm making tea for myself. Right? Not because it's plugged in. That's what he means here. Second, it is logically possible that a necessary entity, wajib al-wujud, in Islamic Aqidah, we say wajib al-wujud. Okay, necessarily existent. Okay, works through mechanisms such as cause and effect that we find throughout our universe and still remain necessary. The concept of a necessary entity only explains the cause. Formulas of how the universe may have unfolded is discussing something entirely different. It is talking about the process. So the process is something that is separate. If we happen to figure out the process by which the universe came about, we still did not solve the question of the original source of the universe. So yes, we know how it works. Wonderful. What's the source? What does Allah say in the Quran to get us thinking about this? Undur kayfa bada al-khalq. Allah says as a proof of himself, look how he began the creation. Okay? Question that aspect. The process does not answer that question. Just because you know how something came about. Okay? How did you start up your company? You know, the interviewer asked the billionaire, well, I walked up, filled the form, and handed it to the state. No, that's not the answer to the question. That's the process of how it happened. But the question is, what is the moral cause behind it? I used to think it was obvious that just like no single academic discipline is an alternative to another, physics too is not a substitute for philosophy. That's the whole, what he's saying here. I presumed everyone except physicists knew this because they just love what they did so much, so I used to smile it off. But now I realize that the prominence of scientists that have publicly ridiculed philosophy as utterly worthless have confused epidemic proportions of people. Students actually dismiss an entire discipline they are unaware is weaved into the fabric of their education, if not its very foundation. Philosophy, when we say philosophy, what is the method of knowing something is certain? Okay, how do we sift through evidences? That's what we mean by philosophy here. This delusion plagues universities. Though philosophy was not my favorite subject, all right, even I was not boneheaded enough to dismiss the entire field. It makes me wince that philosophy professors are reduced to repeatedly defending why they are relevant. Okay, it's like philosophy is the sport everyone is playing while questioning why should there be a referee. Simply put, if you opine that philosophy has no place in scientific inquiry, then you are, unbeknownst to you, engaging in philosophy. It's a claim. Science is much more than gathering out pure facts. It's about what questions we ask, how we get our answer, where we fit our data, how we fit it together, how that data produces a conclusion, and how to handle conflicting evidences. Thus, if you are someone who does not comprehend that philosophy and its ancillary disciplines, such as logic, are an integral subject matter with rules that must be learned and respected, then this may be a good time to put this book away. Let me tell you, in Islam, when we talk about philosophy, we are talking about the very fundamentals of decision making regarding knowledge. We are not talking about the philosophy as the discipline in which we seek to find the truth using only the intellect. That is a philosophy. That specific philosophy to us is kufr. But philosophy in general is the use of your intellect. Usul al-fiqh. Do we have Islam without the concept of usul al-fiqh? We don't. We must have usul al-fiqh, the method by which we sift through the evidences and come up with a conclusion. Well, there's no difference between that application to Islam and the application of that to every other discipline. Every discipline requires an usul. If I'm going to Canada, right, I need an usul. What's my methodology of getting there? How am I going to pay for it? All right, what happens if that happens? A philosophy, a plan. Okay, so that's a summary or a little. We're going to read more and more about this. The Divine for Critical Minds by Rehan Zaidi. All right, really, really well written. I like this book. Okay, and I'm going to be reading to you from it regularly, inshallah ta'ala. Okay. We got a lot of comments, and really quick, the end of segment 3, another book. I just ripped this off I saw it on my wife's seat, and I'm going to be reading from this. It's called, you can't really see from the screen here, The Providence of Man, a Sunni apologetic of the original creation of Adam alayhi salam. I don't want to take it out of the wrapper. I didn't take permission to take it out of the wrapper, to be honest with you. So, it's by Tahsin Khan. Who is Tahsin Khan? He's our guy. He used to live right here. He moved, unfortunately. He moved for work. But Tahsin Khan's our guy, right? And he's one of the ulama, students of Ash-Sham. Ulama Ash-Sham. He's one of the students of ulama Ash-Sham. Okay? And so Tahsin Khan Tahsin Khan is one of our guys, right? And let me open it up, okay? Stealing my wife's book here, okay? But I'm going to open it up. I'll take it back. I hope it wasn't meant for anybody else. We'll buy another one, okay? So this too, I think I would like to read, okay? Empirical methods, miracles, and Adam, common descent, consensus, reason for the revelation of certain verses. Okay, 359. Let's see what that's all about. All right. إن مثل عيسى عند الله كمثل آدم خلقه من تراب ثم قال له كن فيكون. All right. This will require me to read it and give summaries. It's pretty dense. The footnoting is immense, okay? And I'll be reading this book for sure. So I highly recommend this book as well. Tahsin Khan, some people were saying things about him, but I don't think any of that's true, to be honest with you. I don't know why. I was surprised why anyone would say something bad about Tahsin Khan. He's the student of ulama Ash-Sham. So that's all I know about him is excellent things, good things. That's all I know about him, to be honest with you. All right, here we go. What time is it? It is now 2:21. You know what that leaves us? That leaves us with 39 minutes, 39 whole minutes on Open QA. We haven't had Open QA in ages, okay? In ages. So here we go. And let me tell you something. If you have put your question up, repeat it, because I don't want to scroll up. It's scrolling up. It's just, we're not going to be scrolling up. So send your question now. If you sent it, copy, paste it, put it again. First question is from Maryam Jahami. Was the Prophet ﷺ free from sins? What about the incident with the blind man? The Prophet ﷺ was free from sins. Their incident of the blind man consisted of the Prophet ﷺ frowning. And frowning is not a sin. Am I right or wrong? That's the simple answer to it. What is the people question? Hold on a second. Allah says, Abasa wa tawalla. Yes, the Prophet ﷺ frowned and turned away. Where in the Quran does frowning and turning away is a sin? In fact, this is praiseworthy because he could have done a lot more. If I'm talking to a big shot and then a man comes and interrupts, do you not expect me to scold that person and shoo him away? But the Prophet never did any of this. The Prophet ﷺ did what a noble and virtuous person would do, which is merely stop smiling. He frowned and he turned away. Does not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, okay, إِذَا خَاطَبَكُمُ الْجَاهِلُونَ وَإِذَا خَاطَبَهُمُ الْجَاهِلُونَ قَالُوا سَلَامًا. If an ignorant person comes to speak, they say peace. No, we're not saying that the blind man, Abdullah ibn Maktoum, was ignorant, but what he did was not correct at that moment. Okay? To interrupt the Prophet like this. So the Prophet ﷺ turned away. So there's no sins there. Secondly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam that go for the low-hanging fruit. Pay attention to him, Abdullah bin Maktoum. He wants Islam. He wants deen. This other elites, they don't want it. Don't pay attention to them. Make life easier for yourself. So that's what that ayah is about, and that has nothing to do with sinfulness. But there is some from ulama Ahl Sunnah, including Malik, including Nawawi, said yes, it is possible for a prophet to do a very small sin, and then they would make tawbah right away, or Allah would send down the ruling on it. And that is an opinion within Ahl Sunnah. You have to know that too. Okay. Let's take one from YouTube. Can a husband use his rights to be unreasonably strict and controlling with his wife, causing her mental problems and making her life dysfunctional? No, in general, that would be sinful because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the house as sakina. Okay? ومن آياتي أن خلق لكم من أنفسكم أزواجا لتسكنوا إليها. From Allah's signs is that He created from amongst yourselves pairs, mates, so that you may find sukoon, serenity amongst them. Mental problems, mental disorders, stress is the opposite of sukoon. So this person is doing something wrong. What do I say? Where do I stand when I go to a grave? You can stand at any portion at the head, and you can make dua for the deceased. And dua for all the people in the grave, and dua for yourself. All the people in the graveyard. Dean Adi says, can you give a brief overview on the appropriate use and meaning of various designations, such as Shaykh, Imam, Mufti, Habib, Ustad, and others? Very good question. A Shaykh is the most broad and general one, because even an old man can be called a Shaykh. A Shaykh, it tends to have a signification of years under your belt. That's when someone says a Shaykh, you generally have the concept that they're a bit older, they got some years under their belt. Okay? And of course, we use it for Islamic scholarship too, but if we're going to use that, the word Shaykh, you probably should use it for someone who's a bit on the older side. And then once you get older, whether he's knowledgeable or not, it's a word of respect. You say Shaykh to any old person too. Okay, so that's one thing. Imam. Imam is somebody who, the way I look at it, the term should involve someone with a social responsibility. And it doesn't have to have much knowledge either. You expect him to have knowledge, but an imam has enough knowledge for the day-to-day caretaking, shepherding of the flock. So if someone has a social role in the masjid or something, call him an imam. Okay? Or even for a select group of people, this person is looked up to for direction for a select group of professionals, for example, or of ulama, then he's an imam. But the inference there with the word imam, or not the inference, but the understanding with the word imam is that he has responsibility towards people. He's a leader. So Shaykh, an elder. Imam, a leader. Mufti, this is the highest level. Okay? And that is someone who has graduated in fiqh to be able to answer your questions. And he doesn't have to be old, and he doesn't have to be a leader. But he has the knowledge to be a mufti, to give you answers to new questions. It's a very high level of fiqh. Istifta, the asking questions, really, it's used in two different ways. General questions and specific questions about new matters. Okay, so a mufti really should be somebody who can answer you questions on new matters. I think it's used very lightly these days. So mufti so-and-so's coming. Or where is he? He's 16 years old with like 3 hairs in his beard, right? What is this? How is he a mufti, right? Oh, well, he finished the 5-year course. Yeah, so maybe he's a mufti in the sense that what's in the Hanafi textbook, he can answer that question. Yes, that is correct about him. He knows that. But can he answer nawazil, new matters, right? On new issues? That is, at least I can say that that's the higher level of the word, mufti. He can answer you nawazil. Nawazil means new issues that came down. All right, what's next? Habib. Habib, leave that off. That's only for a certain group of people in Yemen that are from Ahl al-Bayt, and they call themselves Habibs. Okay. Habib Omar, always we mention his name, right? He's maybe one of the leaders of the Habib. Of course, he is one of the leaders of the Habib. All right, so the Habib, it's a specific nasab, lineage, in a country of Yemen, in a city called Tarim, in the region of Hadramaut. Okay, and they're a certain group of scholars, a very vast lineage, by the way. Like you can't, not a lineage like you can count it, like a family tree. No, we're talking millions in East Africa, in Yemen, in Indonesia, in Western India, in Malaysia, in Singapore, everywhere. Okay, they're far widespread for da'wah purposes. They went out for da'wah, intermarried, lived with them, and their nobles and their shuyukh are called Habibs. Okay, so that's something khas. Next one, ustadh. Ustadh. That is probably the safest one. Anyone who is teaching a class is an ustadh. If you are a teenager teaching a child alif ba ta, you're his ustadh. So there's not, you're pretty safe with that as long as a person's teaching a class. Ustadh. Okay. How about a Sidi? Sidi's become like an infamous. It simply means sir or mister in North Africa, specifically Morocco. In Egypt and Palestine, it means grandfather, right? But in West Africa and North Africa, Morocco and Algeria, Sidi simply means Mr. or Sir. But now it has come with an inference or just a general respectful term. It's a good term. You could use it for anybody. I could use it for a stranger in the street. Mr. Sir. Okay? All right? I hope that answers Dean's question. Very good question. Dino Palavra says, Sheikh Habib Omar says the Prophet wouldn't naturally do this. He actually went against his nature to teach him proper etiquette. Oh, so he's talking about something specific, and I can't remember, what he was talking about. Okay. Okay. Is anger from parents towards children warranted? If yes, in what case? And in what case would this not be permissible? A parent will be angry with their child when they see something from them that they know will harm them in their deen or their dunya. Okay. When I see that, for example, my son, let's say hypothetically, being rude, is that going to get you far in the world? Is it a good quality? No. So I become angry for that. What is not good anger? When it's anger just for the ego's sake. When I want to be respected over and beyond the norm for the sake of I want to be in full control over this person. I think that's a bad sign. That's not good. Anger should be anger with something that you would not want to see your child graduate from you as a parent with these qualities: lying, cheating, being rude, failing school. TT Ansari says, what is the benefit of reciting minimum 300 salawat? If you can recite even 1,000, even better. The benefits have no end. I'm telling you, the benefits do not have an end. Number one, your dua will be answered. Number two, your sins will be forgiven regularly. Number three, your mood will always be up. Your optimism will always, the glass will always be half full. There will be a feeling of you're constantly in the miracle of Allah. You ask yourself, what is Allah doing with us? There's a wisdom in everything Allah is doing. Like, you really begin to, your anxiety is lifted. Your concerns of yourself are lifted. So that's what the Prophet promised for it, and that's the truth of it. Sadiq says, I have heard some ulama say the Prophet ﷺ was given tasarruf over the universe. I've also heard other ulama say this isn't true. What do Ash'aris and Malikis believe? I can't answer that. Allahu alam. Tasarruf over the universe. The Prophet ﷺ is given what he wants. His dua is answered. Isn't that the summary? Is the dua of the Prophet answered, yes or no? Of course it's answered. So there. If the Prophet wants something from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah gives it to him. That's all you need to know. Is studying / working, we're going to go rapid fire here. Is studying / working for worldly benefit of any importance for women? Should it even be something they strive for? By Sharia, the woman should be living, first she is taken care of by her father, then she's taken care of by her husband. And in a situation where you don't have tribes and you don't know what's going to happen, why not have a skill? There's nothing haram with a woman having a skill, but does she have any pressure or obligation for her to do worldly work? The answer is no. No pressure, no obligation. But also, as long as the job is within Islamic, acceptable Islamic framework, then it's not forbidden either. And then, by the way, in some places, one income is not even sufficient anymore, unfortunately. That's a shame, but that's how life is. Adiba says, do you recommend joblessness or a lot of free time for a believer? Do you think that negatively affects a person's well-being? Yes, I do. The idle hand does the devil's work, I think, is a good saying. Idleness, sleeping in, is going to produce bad results. You're going to end up with people doing bad things. Idle, sleeping in, bums, no good, no good. Of course, you may have a phase where that's the case, like in between jobs or in between school and graduate school. But as a norm, day in and day out, no, not acceptable. When my dad retired, he got a settlement. A good portion of it was put in a bank, fixed deposit. No zakat has been calculated on it before. I have the following questions. Okay, this question is broken up, but I'm assuming that he's going to ask for zakat. Is it in your possession? If the bank account is in your possession, you owe zakat on it after the first year, then after the second year. If it's not in your possession, then the day they give it to you, that's when the gifts, but it's in your name, but it's not in your possession, then you don't pay zakat on it. It's not in my possession. It's like, I have your money that I'm going to give to Habib. Habib doesn't owe zakat on that. The moment I give it to you, then starts day one. After a year, then you pay zakat on it. I hope that's an answer to the question. How was your UK trip coming along? Rewind a little bit, because segment 3 we were covering that. We covered that. We covered a little bit, and we'll have more information as time goes on. Sarah Suleihi, what books do you recommend for non-Muslims about life of the Prophet and the life of other Muslim figures? Well, to be honest with you, I still, until today, have not found the perfect seerah for youth or new Muslims. I haven't found it. That like 150-page short seerah. And believe it or not, Karen Armstrong, who is not a Muslim, she has a very good seerah. Short, quick summary of the Prophet's life for non-Muslims. Find me a book. I wish I could write it myself if I had the time. Okay. What is a good Itr brand? Abdus Samad Al-Qurashi, I believe it's called, is the best. Abdus Samad Al-Qurashi is one of the best, I should say. Huh? I don't know. Good question. Arabian Oud is also pretty good. Very expensive, though. What is the meaning of pure men for pure women? It means that, in general, the marriages that will last are people of the same level of modesty, same level of purity of heart. If their hearts are not aligned, eventually they'll separate. Osama floating. You got 3 questions here? A 3-for-1 deal? All right, let's see. Is it impermissible to make dua to marry a woman who is already engaged but not yet married, keeping in context of the dua that you want the best outcome for everyone and not for anyone to be upset, and for the fiance to also get something better, and also that you would cease if she got married? From my understanding, you cannot propose to her unless you have the fiance's permission, but I don't want to pursue that. I'm just wondering if I can simply make a dua and leave it with Allah. Okay. Would this be haram, breaking kinship ties? I would say the safest thing is to say someone like her, right? That's safe. Then you're not entering into someone else's life, right? I would say make it safe and say, oh, Allah, let me marry someone like her or better, okay? And Allah knows best. Because you don't want to get involved in other people's, they're engaged, they're going to marry, don't get involved. Someone like her. Okay. Maham says, when going through a difficult time and you have messed up big time, what is the dua to make? Very easy. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu minadh dhalimin. Are there any updates on the Dar al-Fath summer intensive? Yes, that summer intensive is going up. Why don't we go to darulfath.org and you could sign up for the summer intensive and hang out with us for 2 months here in New Jersey. I was told by my teachers, according, says Maryam, that the best way to retain ilm and knowledge is by leaving sins and useless distractions. Yes, that's correct. Sadaqat, where do I stand? Oh, we answered this grave about the grave. We answered Osama Floating's question. Okay. When reading books, how do you remember all of it? Is it possible? Yes, it's possible by reading it multiple times. 4 or 5 times, 6 readings of the same book. Never be shy about or hesitant about repeating something. Okay? Maryam says, I was asked about this first chocolate wallah, then Maryam. To be honest, many women consider being obedient to the husband as him being controlling. Just the concept of it. Well, there has to be order in a family, right? You cannot have 2 people steering the wheel. Next time you drive in a car, have 2 people steer the wheel. See what happens. Have 2 people have access to the gas and the pedal. There has to be order in a marriage. And yes, we have a culture today, I would say, where orders are not nice. It's not a normal thing to give orders. Go do this, go do that. We should say, hey, do you mind doing this? Can you possibly do this? Imagine I walk in and treated like I'm a boss. Hey, okay, you do this first, do this second, do this third, right? It's like, it's not our urf. I don't believe that any Westerner, when a man and woman marry, that this is the norm for them. I don't see that. even for not just for our generation, even the previous generation. You ask stuff nicely, right? But nonetheless, there is still order. Like, where does the final say on certain matters? Who's responsible, right? If there's physical harm coming from outside, if there's a lack of food and clothes, and if there's waywardness in the deen, the husband's responsible. So he gets the final say on these things. Simple as that. When it comes to matters of care and compassion, that is the general fields that Allah created for women, to be tender and compassion towards kids and babies that in general, and care giving. They would have the final say on that. I don't think, do you ever see a man say, no, I have the final say on how many diaper changes we're doing today, right? That's absurd. That's the general thing that things say, all from humanity, across humanity, all across history. That's been the way that human beings interact. Now, was there ever a time where the man walked in and said, go get dinner? Maybe that's a culture. Who knows? It's not our culture. I can tell you that right now. Maybe there was a time where the man, when he walked in, he killed a Bengal on the way, probably in Bangladesh somewhere, right? Killed a Bengal tiger on the way, made the house safe for us tonight. Yeah, then that guy puts his feet up and says, oh, get me some steak, get me some that. So that's their culture, right? That was their world. We're in our world. So I believe in order, and I believe that there are general spheres, and I don't see, just my opinion, that in our culture as Westerners and Americans that husbands and wives are given, or that husbands and wives are given orders, right? The husbands definitely, that's not part of the culture. That's what I see. But they have a problem of being obedient to the husband. Well, I think that they should, look at what Allah said about it. What did the Prophet say about it? Did not the Prophet said any woman who prays her 5, fasts her month, and obeys her husband? The Prophet did not shy away from saying, ta'at zawjaha, obeyed her husband. So if we're going to have a problem with that, that's your problem with the Prophet, peace be upon him. I can't help you. I was asked this question, says Maryam, about the practice of Hadra and its legal position in Islam. Please enlighten us. Hadra is movement while doing dhikr, and you can see, I don't have much comment on that, but you can see Shaykh Nuh Keller's articles, and he has a chapter in his book on that. But we personally don't really do that here, except for standing. We do standing. But what's with standing? Standing is nothing. Allah in the Quran says, remember Allah standing and sitting and laying down. So, but the Hadra involves moving, swaying, bowing in the dhikr. And that, you go to Shaykh Nuh, but we really have nothing to do. We don't do that. Sarah Surah, he says, what books do you recommend for non-Muslims about the Prophet? We answered that. What is the general stance on Wahhabis? No, I don't want to get into that. Bushra Begum, people say 3 Tawhid are in the Ash'ari and Maturidi texts, but I heard it's a bid'ah. Yeah, 3 Tawheeds in the sense that, like they're 3 distinct Tawheeds, but there are facets of Tawheed. I don't think there's an issue with that. But we don't have like 3 different types of Tawheed. Tawheed is Tawheed. How can you know if Allah loves you or not? There are signs of Allah's love. If Allah wants good for somebody, He gives them knowledge of deen. If Allah wants good for somebody, if He loves them, He inspires them to make tawbah. If He loves them, He inspires them to connect blessings to Himself, such as this blessing is from Allah, that blessing is from Allah. That's one of the signs Allah loves you. Because the reaction of that is that you will love Allah. Right? So these are some of the signs that Allah loves out. What is your position with the book of Allah? That is a sign of Allah's love for you. Let's go to Instagram for a second here. How do you overcome overthinking? Where to draw the line for logical thoughts and overthoughts? That's a good question. Ask people. Anytime you get that fuzzy, when you're in a fuzzy thing that has no rules and it's a judgment call, ask people. Ask the people who succeed, all right, who succeed in life. right? How do I know when to make the purchase? I've trying to buy a car, and I've been studying for 5 months the different cars out there. Whoa, that's way too long. 3 weeks is enough. So ask people. Okay. How to deal with someone who triggers you, no matter what they say or do. There's no way to avoid them. That's tough. That's tough. That's sabr. Sabr bitasabr. The Prophet ﷺ said, patience is by forcing yourself to be patient. There's no other way around it. There's no shortcut. Patience is by forcing yourself to be patient. Abid Niaz says, I'm 24. If someone calls me Shaykh at the Masjid, are they calling me old? Not necessarily, because they also use Shaykh as to mean a scholar. Qamar says, is studying working for worldly benefit of any importance for women? We answered that from, I think, Instagram. SP says that they will be attending the event. They're in Bolton and they will be attending the event. So, mashallah, we'll look forward to seeing you all there. Okay. Will you be back on Twitter? Yeah, it probably will be back up soon. And then we'll be back on, inshallah. Can anyone recite Hizb al-Bahr? Allahu A'lam. I don't know if that requires a ijazah or not. I really don't know. Husband hasn't been working, not providing for his family. Okay? For most of the marriage. The wife works and takes care of everything. She wants to buy a house and also put it in his name. Why would she do that? Why would you do that? You have your own home. The guy is a bum. Firstly, he should be divorced. That's the first thing. Right? You're not doing your job as a husband. Why would you put the house in his name? You work. That's your money. I wouldn't do it. If my daughter came with that as a first, get rid of this guy. If she says, no, he's so good. He said, how good is he if he doesn't work and produce some money? Now, I'm not saying that there's never a situation where that could not be agreeable. It could be. I'm flexible. In life, things happen. A guy may throw his back out. His wife is supporting him. It could happen. That's fine. But if it's a principle, I'm not working and you're working as a principle, okay? And she's not happy about that. That's not good. That's not good, okay? But I am aware that there could be exceptions to the rule, not to be so rigid about everything. Even though there's a pretty clear thing in the Sharia. الرجال قوامون على النساء. The man is the maintainer of the woman. He's always standing, maintaining, working, effort, bringing money. That's the general rule. There are exceptions. So I don't want to upset anybody that is in that exceptional category. But to make it like the principle, and it's out of laziness, not out of a deal that they made or some agreement that is temporary or something like that. That is the principle of the matter. No, that's not accepted in Islam. I have to say that. Okay. And so if that's the case, I probably would not no, I wouldn't accept that. Put the house in your name. Asim Khan has a seerah for children. Habib Omar has a book called Who is Muhammad? Okay, good. We need to get those. Can you look up that book, Who is Muhammad? Dua to remove a great difficulty. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. The dua to remove great difficulty is La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Have you read the Al-Alawi Seerah Muhammad Best of Creation? I think that this is what we're reading, and it's not so much of a seerah, but it's a shama'il type of thing. But maybe it's a different book. How many pages? Nuruddin Itr has one. 112 pages? Yeah. Okay. Nuruddin Itr has a seerah for that's a short seerah. Adam Franderkorn I have a non-Muslim friend who is very close to coming to Islam, but when I meet him, I cannot convey the beauty of Islam smoothly. Don't try to use words. Use your state. Use your behavior. Use your actions. Okay? لسان الحال أفصح من لسان المقال. The tongue of your condition, your state, is more eloquent than the tongue of speech. Niqabi says, is the summer intensive for women? It is, but we don't have a house for the women to stay at. That's one of the things we didn't have yet. All right, we're able to procure a home for the guys to stay in, but not one for the women. That's the only thing. Okay. What is in basic aqidah and fiqh books you suggest someone trying to learn about Islam, says Qasar Saad. The answer to that is go to arkview.org and look at our courses and see what's being taught there. Arkview.org. That's where we teach our classes, and you can sign up for $10. You get all these classes, pre-recorded and live. For example, today the live class is Hanafi fiqh. Okay. All right, a lot of questions and answers here. Let's take some here. Malik says, are your online classes about Maliki fiqh, or does it go over different types? All different methods, all 4 methods, each one with a different teacher. Aqidah, Tajweed, Tasawwuf, Islamic spirituality. Right? A lot of different classes. And Moeen gave a good answer there. Thank you, Moeen. If a woman is oppressed by her husband and is stingy in accepting khula or giving divorce, what can she do? The imam or a council can divorce her off. If it's a lengthy process, get your wali to pressure him into making things work out. You know, you want things to be good. He's not wanting to make things to be right, set right, or move on with life. Your wali should be pressuring him. And you should bring the imams and the people who are respected leaders. If they're not going to, the imam has the right to pronounce a divorce between 2 people in Maliki fiqh. He yaqumu maqam al-qadi. He takes the position of the qadi, and he could do that. But if people are worried about that, take the time with the councils, even if it takes time. If not, no council, make your own, bring your own leaders of the community into the situation to pressure him to do what is right. Okay. When are you coming to Dallas? There's Dallas and Houston has not finalized that, but maybe in the summer. What color was the Prophet Adam? Allahu A'lam. La adri. Do not know. Color of skin was Prophet Adam. Is it necessary to join a Tariqa? No, but I think it's necessary to have a mentor, have a Shaykh, have someone to help you show the way. And that way is usually through dhikr. Does NBIC have classes for middle schoolers? Says Zahid and Inaya. Yes, we do. And that's on Tuesday, 5:30. Bring your kids. You can just do the rest of the spring term with us and then sign up again in the summer. Do I have to put my name for my questions to be answered? The answer is no, you do not have to. You can put it anonymously. What is the meaning of Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la tattakhidul yahuda wan nasara awliya? Means do not side with them over the believers. Do not take them and believe that they will protect you. Okay? And there's a fork in the road between the believers and others. Then the believers should be, you should offer them your protection and your advice, and you should be supporting them rather than supporting Ahl Kitab against the believers. Okay. Dino says the hadith that says the comparison between the stars and the full moon is like the comparison in the worshiper and the scholar. Does this mean a layman can never reach the rank of a scholar? That is correct, unless the layman starts to study. But it could be with Allah, he possesses that rank. But in terms of his benefit to the people, no, the scholar is like the moon because he can benefit the people more. The layman, maybe in his worship and his purity of heart, is greater even, but his benefit is not greater. So in terms of the benefit, he will not reach the scholar. But in other things, maybe he can reach the scholar. Maybe he can surpass the scholar in worship. He can pass the scholar in sincerity, in humility, in other things like that. Scholars tend to be, they benefit so many people, they're forgiven because they benefited people, because they may have arrogance, they may have other things that are problems. right? In the course of talking all the time and people listening all the time, they may develop bad qualities. So they may be forgiven just for the benefit that they gave to other people. So yes, a layman can surpass a scholar in different facets of the deen, but not in benefiting the people. Okay. Ahmed W., looking forward to seeing him at Harrow and seeing the whole community there at Harrow. Anonymous sister, why are my questions not being answered? No, maybe we haven't gotten there yet or haven't seen it yet. Where is anonymous sister's question? Read it to me. Just, turn your mic on and.
Do you do marriage counseling?
No, I personally don't do marriage counseling.
And then she said, what would you say to a family member who says that Islam is only spiritual and has no politics in it?
I would say that that's a bit vague. You have to ask the question: does Allah and His Messenger have the right to tell us how to govern our societies? Yes or no? And the answer must be yes. If the answer of this person is no, then they're on some kind of innovation. Yeah, this is not good. Yes, go ahead.
Is the meher mutaqir only given in divorce and death? What if the man can't pay it?
Well, first of all, the mu'akhar is differed upon by the scholars for a couple reasons. But the terms, if you did a mahr mu'akhar, what is a mahr mu'akhar? It's when a man marries a woman, he pays her, he gives her a gift, which is a dowry. Whatever they agree on. It could be jewelry, it could be something else. But it oftentimes is money. Let's say $10,000. In some cultures, they created this thing called the delayed dowry that kicks in when a bad thing happens. It's supposed to discourage the person from doing it. Usually it does the opposite. But let's say it's like, okay, $10,000 is the dowry. We'll make it $5,000 up front. If you divorce her within the first 5 years, $10,000. So, well, guess what happens? He doesn't want to pay the $10,000. So he'll start harming her until she asks for the divorce. That's why it's bad. But let's say you did it. If you did it, you did it, right? Then the terms should be written there that upon divorce, $10,000. Okay? That's usually what the term is. Upon divorce, you pay her that amount of money. And what if the man can't pay it? Well, he can't pay it. You shouldn't have made those deals in the first place.
Salawat for motivation.
Salawats for motivation? What do you mean salawats for motivation? Joanna S. says, can you recommend an English version of Risala al-Qushayriyah? The only one I have is the one that is online. Risala al-Qushayriyah, PDF, and you'll see it there. It's online, translated. I think controlling is different from obedience, says Maham. That's a good point for marriage. Controlling and obedience different. Okay. Dallas. Dallas has it's the latest hotspot and the latest, place that everyone's going to is Dallas. So, there's so many shiuch in Dallas. That's what I'm like, what's my point of me going to Dallas? Right? They already have all the shiuch there. What's the point? Should you say convert or revert? I personally go with convert, but because reverting is usually something bad, but nobody is, reverted back to old ways. But nobody is born. There's no hadith that says you're born a Muslim. You're born on the fitrah. You are born on the fitrah. Okay. And then your parent makes you Jewish, Christian, or otherwise. Okay. So you come up as a young adult and you're a Jew or a Christian or a pagan or an atheist, and then you enter Islam, so you've altered your religion, but it doesn't really make a difference. No one should make a big fuss over convert. There's no like Sharia in this. If a husband says he is planning to divorce his wife, how should the wife prepare, or shouldn't she prepare? They have been married 28 years and they have 2 teenagers. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. The wife doesn't work and has no work experience. She was 18 when they got married. He's a successful businessman. This is the situation. Her wali has to take care of her though. Her wali, her father, has to take care of her. Okay, what if her father doesn't have the means? This is a problem. It's a problem. This is not a religious question. This is a life question. In other words, how are you going to survive? Well, he's got to pay for the kids. You got 2 kids. He's got to pay their rent. That's 2/3. So you only have to cover 1/3. So maybe she says the wali passed away. All right. That's a problem. That is a problem. When fathers see this stuff, that's why they say, oh, I got to make sure my daughter has something to fall back on. What's your opinion on go to mixed gyms? No, well, we know it's not about mixed gyms or not. We know that you have to lower your gaze. How are you going to lower your gaze? You're not allowed to put yourself in a position where you have to lower your gaze. Let's all go to the beach and lower our gaze. We'll go to the beach with where it's empty. Go in the gym, right? And then, we have to lower the gaze. Well, you put yourself there. So that's a problem. Can't tell you haram, but I would definitely say that it is closer to forbidden putting yourself in a situation where you end up having to lower your gaze. Okay. Can I listen to Shia Latmiyas? No, you cannot. We don't do any religious things with people who are innovators. Can we say the N-word in a non-offensive way? I have multiple N-word ijazas. I don't know. Don't ask me. Right? Don't ask me. Ask the people who would be upset by it. All right. That's it. We are wrapped up for the day. A nice return. Okay. The husband said he would give the wife anything. Okay, make a deal with him then. Yeah, make a deal. All right? And by the way, take everything up front because you can't trust that he's going to keep paying. Except for the child support, the law will make him keep paying. But for you, take it up front, big sums of money up front, invest it, live on that at the same time because he's not bound to give you as the wife anything after the divorce in Sharia. Okay? He gave you your freedom. So if he's offering a deal, take it up front. Okay, take all the money up front, buy yourself an apartment, rent it out, live off that income, keep saving, buy another apartment, so on and so forth. That's the way to live. Okay. All right, it's great to be back. It is now 3:00. We are done for the day. Jazakumullahu khairan. Everyone, let's go to the Dua an-Nur and recite that before we leave today. And inshallah ta'ala, that will bless our gathering and we'll close off with this blessed dhikr and dua. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم اجعل لي نورا في قلبي ونورا في قبري ونورا في سمعي ونورا في بصري ونورا في شعري ونورا في بشري ونورا في لحمي ونورا في دمي ونورا في عظامي ونورا في عصبي ونورا من بين يدي ونورا من خلفي ونورا عن يميني ونورا عن شمالي ونورا من فوقي ونورا من تحتي اللهم زدني نورا وأعطني نورا واجعل لي نورا وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون، وسلام على المرسلين، والحمد لله رب العالمين.